The young composer Arnold Schoenberg was part of this scene. And he was completely imbued with all the ideas of Romanticism, but with a kind of ready-made skill and ability in form, in orchestration, in harmony, in melody, that's almost unthinkable today. It's deeply ironic that this man, who was to become the standard bearer of Austro-Germanic contemporary music, would really have liked to continue to compose traditionally. However, Schoenberg felt himself pulled, as if by some gigantic centrifugal force towards progress. As a follower of the world that Wagner had bequeathed him, he felt that he had absolutely no option but to move forward. Almost without thinking, he'd shown how far music could go if it went away from its home of tonality. When he wrote Transfigured Night, it was put in for a competition. One of the jurors said something which actually was not a compliment, but was very shrewd. He said it was as if someone had taken the score of Tristan and Isolde while it was still wet and smudged it all over. Transfigured Night begins in the characteristic home of D minor, the home of darkness, of forests, of confusion in all the works of this period. It ends in a shimmering, transfigured D major. But in between, it goes on a harmonic journey of such tortuous complexity that the jury were not even willing to recognize that it was a harmonic possibility. The point in question started with these two chords. Innocuous enough. These two chords were not supposed to have existed. Now, they seem no great problem to us today, but in fact, in the whole piece, you can hear tonality stretching so much that it is actually out of shape. We begin to be lost. For composers like Schoenberg, Webern, Berg, the idea of moving away from tonality was not destroying some time-honored law, but it was a way of moving forward, and it was a way of a new type of strength. Webern, talking later about this time, was very, very eloquent. He talks of the idea of once again flying away from Earth, but staying close enough to Earth, as a baby bird will, to be safe, but gradually gaining strength and power and daring. If, very simply, moving from the certainties of a chord and the certainties of a scale like C major, which seems so simple, so natural to us, we move to a world where there's not a hierarchy between tones, where there's not the home bass dominant, back to the home base, but where all 12 tones are equal, a kind of democratic musical order. We're then in the 20th century. Schoenberg's inspiration for Transfigured Night was a narrative poem by his contemporary Richard Demel. It's typical of its time in its fevered, expressionist intensity. A woman is alone in a forest. She's pregnant. She meets her lover and tells him that she's carrying a baby which is not his. And in true romantic fashion, the tension is released in the man's acceptance of this, saying that this child in your womb will become transfigured, and it will become the child of our love by this miracle. All the music we're playing in the first part of this program is to do with night.